What up, what up, what up, world? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. You are now in the booth with Q. Welcome back to all of our followers and folks that have been missing us. I know we've been out for the last couple of weeks, but we are back in the swing of things after a few life transitions for me. So it's great to be back on with you guys. First topic that we're going to talk about on our return to sports debates, sports topics, is going to be the University of Colorado Buffaloes, or the Colorado University Buffaloes, I should say. Just finished watching their second game today against Nebraska. They moved to 2-0 on the season, winning that game 36-14 after picking up a huge win and not really shocking, but surprising a lot of people last week by winning 45-42 over TCU. That was ranked number 17 at the time. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, and the rest of the allotment of talent that the Colorado Buffaloes currently have are really, really clicking. And today's game was a little bit more difficult, I should say. Week 2's game was a little bit more difficult for them. Game was pretty much 0-0 tie ball game up until about halfway through the second quarter, when they really kind of broke things out and took advantage of some mistakes that Nebraska made, especially from their quarterback. Man, I mean, you couldn't have scripted necessarily a better result for the first two games if you are a Colorado fan, if you're a Deion Sanders fan, or if you're just a guy who was really rooting for this thing to go well for Deion Sanders. 2-0 with two solid wins. You beat, the top, a top-tier team in TCU, was ranked number 17 in the nation, coming off of a national championship appearance last season. You beat them in a back-and-forth game where you had to come from behind after being down on three different occasions late in that ball game to take leads before the final strike was hit with about, I think it was like a minute to go when they finally took over the lead and never relinquished it. Then you come back home for a home opener that everybody's going to be looking forward to. It's a trap game because you know that it's a game that, you've just come off this huge high where, you beat a really good team on the road at TCU. And you play a Nebraska team that's already lost. Nebraska lost last week to Minnesota. And they're not one of the teams that's really been looked at on the national radar as a team that's supposed to be really, really good. But they are coached by Matt Rhule, who's a solid coach, former coach at Baylor, also coached the Carolina Panthers a few years ago. And they have some decent athletes of their own, a really good run game, and a pretty solid defense coming into this matchup. Clearly, Nebraska was not able to keep up with the speed. And once Shedeur was really able to get things going from the passing game perspective, it was clear that Nebraska was not going to be able to keep up offensively. Unfortunately for the Nebraska fans, their quarterback, Jeff Sims, had a very, very pedestrian game. He did have one huge run for 57 yards for a touchdown that effectively was their only touchdown during the main part of the game. They did score at the very end of the game with about 2 seconds left to make it 36-14 as the final score. But before that, they had not scored or even threatened to score other than that one long run that Jeff Sims did have. But unfortunately, Jeff Sims, that was the only thing that was really a highlight to talk about from the positive perspective for Nebraska in this game, because he had two clear fumbles that were his fault, just dropping the snap from the shotgun. And then he had a miscommunication with his running back on a handoff that ended up being a fumble. All three of those fumbles were lost, and that really did aid Colorado to getting into scoring positions and taking advantage of those turnovers, because, like I said previously, early on in this game, it was a defensive battle where both teams were really struggling to find their footing offensively. Shedeur Sanders ended up this game with 31 for 42 passing, 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, and he had another solid game. I mean, he's clearly a guy that's been well-schooled, which you can expect, right? When you're the son of an NFL player, you're going to have access to resources. You're going to have access to other NFL players. He has a great relationship with Tom Brady, so I'm sure he's used his mentorship opportunities as a way to kind of help him in his own development. And it's paid off so far. You know, he was really, really good at Jackson State. A lot of questions were coming into this game or into this season as far as how well he could do at the top tier Division I level. And he's proven that he is certainly, of the quarterbacks we've seen so far, he's in that top 10 tier, I believe. A lot of people want to say he's top 5 already, and that remains to be seen. I'm going to hold my horses on that just because I want to take a chance to see how he does against some really good other top-rated teams. TCU is a solid team, but they've struggled on defense. They lost their quarterback, who was a Heisman contender, in Max Duggan. So there were a lot of question marks coming into this season to see how good they really could be. But that win counts on their record. They were a top 20 team when they beat them. So that's certainly going to help them in the rankings because they came into this game ranked 22 after not even being a ranked team going into the season. So they're a team that's on the rise, obviously has a lot of eyeballs on them. And, there's going to be a lot of people watching their season, man, because they're going to get to play, a lot of good quality teams in their final year in the Pac-12. They have Colorado State, which is a rival game, similar to Nebraska from the standpoint that these are not teams that are going to be seen as, clear threats to Colorado at this point now that they've proven to be a top 25 team. So they should take care of Colorado State just like they did Nebraska, this coming week. But then they're going to be on the road at Oregon. Oregon is ranked number 13. They're coming off of back-to-back wins this season. They're currently, ranked 13th, and they're 1-0, and they're going to be looking to continue their unbeaten streak going into that big, huge home game. They're actually having a game tonight against Texas Tech on the road. So we will update you guys to see how that game goes. But I anticipate that the Oregon Ducks will win that game and come back home. Looking forward to a big, huge matchup with Colorado. And then they're going to get probably the biggest game of their season, which is going to be a home game against USC. That game is September 30th. So that's going to be 3 weeks from now, when they'll face that team. USC obviously has Caleb Williams, who's a highly touted, highly skilled Heisman winner from last season, scoring offense with Lincoln Riley. You know that they're going to put points on the board. So it'll be really interesting to see how Colorado can deal with an offense that's just as high potent as theirs, and see how they can do with an upper echelon team that we know going into this season has their full arsenal of guns, and a team that we anticipate will be in the college football contention to try to get one of those Final Four spots. And then they'll have games, later on this season against top 25 teams in Oregon State, as well as Utah. And I don't expect either of those teams to fall off of that perch in the top 25. And both of those games are going to be games that we look forward to seeing Colorado in. The question now is are they for real? And that's something that remains to be seen because we're going to have to see them go on the road. We're going to have to see them, once there's some film and some real tape on these teams. Travis Hunter did not have as huge of a game today. He had 3 catches for 73 yards. He had 1 long catch of 40 yards. So obviously teams are going to start to key in on him on offense. He did have a huge game last week against TCU when he ended up with 11 catches for 119 yards while also playing, a major role at defensive back where he ended up getting an interception, had a couple of pass breakups last week. It didn't seem like they were really going to him as much, but that could be just because the defense was a little bit more focused on him this week to try to slow him down. So that's going to leave openings for other guys on offense. It'll be interesting to see how Travis responds this coming, season to playing so many snaps on both sides of the ball. There's a reason that most people don't do it, and the reason most people don't is because it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot out of you to play 12 games, both sides of the ball, playing over 60 to 70% of those snaps. So it'll be interesting to see how he responds because I think, quite honestly, if he does as well as he's been doing the first 2 games, Colorado has a really, really good chance of winning a Pac-12 championship, of being possibly in college football playoff contention, and if not, at the very least, making it to the Rose Bowl as that team that typically does. Whoever wins the Pac-12 championship typically gets that bid to go play at the Rose Bowl in a high-profile game. Not that, either, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter or Deion Sanders need any more of a stage. But obviously that would be pretty cool to see if you're not like me, if you're not a USC fan. So you guys give me your thoughts on how you think Colorado has done so far with their first 2 weeks in the books, wins over TCU on the road, as well as wins at home over Nebraska. They look forward to their next game, which is going to be against Colorado State, 9 p.m. Saturday night, September 16th on ESPN. We look forward to seeing how they do next week. I anticipate that'll be a victory. You guys give me your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with anybody interested in college football. We're going to be doing a lot more of that this coming season. So we look forward to the feedback. And as always, everybody stay blessed. Peace.